We're going to do a quick demo. This is so much fun. I'm going to show you the coolest way. Some of you may know how to put my foil on clay with the burnishing. If you've been to my website, you've seen the tutorial. I'm going to show you a new way to adhere the foil to the clay, and we're going to do it with Fiskars tools. We're going to show you one of the new foils. This is the only holographic foil that works on polymer clay. I don't even think we have a name for it yet. It comes in wider strips. That's just a sample size. But we're going to condition our clay, and I'm working with my new Viva Decor artist clay. And it's the strongest clay on the market. We're going to take a very small piece that I've rolled out through a thin setting. Actually, I'm on the 5th largest setting of my pasta machine. And we're going to just take our blade and very carefully cut up a strip. And we're going to take a much larger piece of foil than we need. Look at, I'm bearing from Peter to pay Paul here. I don't even have my work tile here. I'm just this is crafting on the fly. So you can make stuff anywhere. You don't have to have a lot of fancy things, but you do have to have your Fiskars tools. So let me take about, oh gosh, maybe 4 inches of the foil compared to what, maybe about 1.5 inches of my clay. We're going to take a piece of parchment or deli paper. Or I like to recycle. When I do shipping, I use the back of the FedEx envelopes for the shipping labels. Those are wonderful to work with for this technique.
That's a great tip, Lisa.
And, I use everything I can in my arsenal. So we're going to just set this on our deli paper. We're going to line up the foil to cover the clay. We're going to go to probably the thinnest or the second thinnest setting of the pasta machine and just start rolling it in. See if we can catch it. It might be even too thick. I'm going to thin it down just a little. We got to grab it. This is going to be thinner than cardstock by the time we're done. Okay, so when you grab it, we need to separate the parchment and the foil from the clay, because the clay is going to stretch like crazy. The foil's not going to stretch, and the parchment's not going to stretch. So if you try to roll all three together, you're going to get a mess. So just put a little tension. You don't want to tear the clay. Just a little tension to hold it and let it feed in as you go through this very, very thin setting. And as you can see, this stretched quite a bit.
Wow.
Got a little crinkle here. Most of the time you can just thin that out with your finger. And then we don't have to do that burnishing. We're just going to take the foil and just like we pull it off normally backwards, like that, voila.
Wow.
We're going to bake right on the parchment. And this will probably curl. So what you can do is 2 things. You can either just set a tile on top with the flat side, you don't want to embed any texture into it, or you can just, after baking, just set it down on a tile, put another tile on top with some weight. That will flatten it again if it comes out curly. And then you're going to peel off the back, and then you've got, this is like leather.
It is. I didn't think it was clay at all. I had no idea.
This is clay. And then the beautiful thing is, if you've got to go really thin, if I use like the Fiskars, that you can do continuous borders with your punch, and I did it here on this box.
Wow.
So I'm going to
like a little close up there. That's amazing.
And I'm going to show you what I did here. To do a piece, it's got to be very thin for this, because you can see it's a very narrow opening. You can actually use a thicker piece of clay. We've got a little rainbow sheet here. You can use it with your Fiskar punches, your hand punches. The squeeze punches are a little bit thicker. And always do it with the color facing you so you can see when you filled in the whole piece. You don't want to turn it over to find out that you missed the tail of your butterfly. So we're just going to align it here so we get the whole piece. And it just punches out that easy. No effort at all.
Oh my gosh.
We're gonna see what Jenny does with that. Maybe she can take some magic gloss later and do something on the blog.
It's gorgeous. And I want to show this one. Here's a sample that Lisa had made where she used magic gloss on top. So now it really gives the look of faux dichroic, or dichroic glass. It's a faux dichro. And then here has some glitter and magic gloss. Both, you know, and I love magic gloss. Read my review of that because it's a good review.
I love you for living magic gloss. So, now another thing, look at here, look at all the doogies on the table.
Doogies?
Doogies.
Is that a technical term, right?
Judy Belcher was the one who came up with that. That's the whatchamacallit of the 21st century.
It's a doogies, okay.
So this is done with the Fiskars punch, but these are the little leftovers that I did from the border punch that we did on the edge here of our box with our Swarovski bling, and then I used them to embellish the lid. So there's no, when we say there's no waste in clay,
there's no
waste in and clay.
The top is covered with clay too, yes?
Yes.
And then you could use a little poly bonder.
Poly bonder, exactly.
To adhere that, and it's gorgeous.
Oh, you know your clay.
I do know.
And look at this. This is the new clay. It's like, I'm going to go back to summer camp days. Anybody went to summer camp? You can tie it in a knot. You can tie it in a bow. Okay, so it's got to be a very strong clay. Some clays are brittle after baking, and if you punch them, they're just going to crumble. So it's got to be really strong. But you can add to it. You can glue this down on a thicker piece of clay if you want to drill through it or add some things to it, steampunk. Or using the magic gloss resin, you can thicken it like we did with the butterfly necklace that you just saw. Now, this is what's cool too. If you use a larger sheet of clay, this one's a little thin. Maybe, would you pass me that red clay? Thank you. This was done on, we call it Pavelka.
No,
It's like crushed red velvet.
It's gorgeous.
But we're going to take, I would normally at home, I'd use my Fiskars rotary cutter so I could get nice straight lines with a 90-degree angle, but I call this faking it until you bake. Fake it till you bake it. But this has already been baked. But you could take on a larger piece of clay, and it doesn't have to be foiled. It could be a gradient background, like a Skinner blend, or just a solid colored clay. But I love the foil. But you could take that piece, that scrap, and then it becomes a picture frame.
Right.
You can use it in a scrapbook or make a gifted greeting.
So you can always use your positive and your negative images.
Absolutely.
Marvelous.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Craft Test Dummy.